Hello and welcome to Channel One Television, broadcasting from number 5 Ola Hansen Lane at Tesano in Accra. My name is Umar Rusanda Amadou, and I'm doing this with my sidekick, my colleague, my brother, our correspondent at the presidency, Sami.
Wow, good afternoon. Good to see you again.
How are you doing?
God is still keeping me.
It's good. How is the week looking?
Good. Good. It started on a Monday. It's been through it. Today is Thursday, Friday, and looking forward to the weekend.
Are you going to chill this weekend?
Yeah.
Where are you going to chill?
I may travel outside Accra.
Which parts?
To maybe Ebri.
I may also go to Ebri.
Yeah.
I know what we have to do. We'll do something. We'll discuss, but we can't say that on TV because it's going to cause problems.
I know, right?
So let's leave it.
I know,
Ebri
right?
Mountains, here we come. This is a situation room. So on the situation room, we don't talk about where we are spending our weekend. That's actually not what we do. We talk about the big political and current affairs issues relating to our elections. Election 2024 is coming up, like I always say to you. What are the key issues that are coming up? And constantly we've reminded you here that the NPP has no running mate. It appears that that issue has been settled now because 2 days ago, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the running mate, the flag bearer of the NPP, went to see his boss, Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, and says, I want to use your energy minister as my running mate, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, MP for Menchia South, Napo, as it's popularly known as. That has got lots of tongues wagging, lots of people reacting to that. We'll be unpacking the issues for you. Speak to someone who knows him so well to tell us who Matthew Opoku-Prempeh really is. And then we'll look at the political side of things, the analysis, everything that matter in this conversation. So stay with us. You're welcome back. So the Constitution dictates that if you are sponsored by a political party or if you're running as an independent person wanting to be president of Ghana, amongst the other things that you have to present to the Electoral Commission before you appear on the ballot is a running mate. Now, that's very crucial and that's very key. It's non-negotiable, actually. We've been seeing running mates in the past. Some became vice presidents, some never became vice presidents until their candidate perhaps either changed them or something else happened. But today, we're talking about the person who is going to partner Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the flag bearer of the NPP. All indications and all the information that we've gathered so far point to one fact, that the choice is Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, Napo, as it's popularly known. Meanwhile, before then, there were a number of names. So the Minister for Agriculture, Dr. Brian Champon's name was mentioned. The Chief of Staff and former MP, Madame Freema Opare, has been mentioned. The man who served as deputy to Napo, the current Minister for Education, has also been named. Several other names have come up, but it appears that the decision is Matthew Opoku-Prempeh. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of the man who spends perhaps the better part of the day in the corridors of power at Jubilee House, working as a journalist, and sometimes simply just putting his ear by the door and listening. Abazi Nerekodo Ewahade. Sami Yafe. So you said that everything looks like it's going to be Napo.
So on Tuesday, late into the night, the Vice President, NPP presidential candidate, met the President of the Republic, who by the NPP Constitution is leader of the party because he's the President of the Republic. And so there was this meeting that was held in the President's office. My information is that it lasted close to an hour.
The fourth floor?
The fourth floor, yes. And the agenda for the meeting was to officially inform the President who Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has settled on as his running mate or vice presidential candidate into the December election. Now, it comes on the back of the NEC and National Council meeting, which is supposed to take place somewhere next week, where officially the name will be presented to the National Council and NEC, and then an official acceptance will be made, and then the running mate will be officially announced, and he will be outdoored by the party. And so this meeting took place and the processes started. He told the President who he has settled on, who he feels is the party's best bet as far as he, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is concerned in leading the NPP into another victory into the December election, one way or the other, helping to break the 8 as the party is projecting that it will do in the December election. So he told the President gave his blessing. In fact, he argued why he feels Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh will be the best person to partner him into the election. The President gave his endorsement, gave some few advice on how best the NPP and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia with Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh partner him can win the election and break the 8 for the NPP. So he told the President the president has accepted. The next step is a national council and a NEC meeting somewhere next week, and officially it will be announced. When you look at some leading members of the party and national officers already on their social media handles, you see photos of Dr. Matthew Poku Pempe, you know, one way or the other, announced that indeed he's a chosen one. And this comes on the back of somewhere last week when there was a national security or the NIB survey, which puts Dr. Matthew Poku Pempe ahead of other candidates, for want of a better word, who are all aspiring to be running mates. Just yesterday, there was another report released by the Dankwa Institute, which also says that 70% of NPP grassroots supporters are in favor of Dr. Matthew Poku Pempe being selected as running mate to Dr. Bawumia. And so it looks as if Dr. Bawumia has listened to the grassroots, has listened to what the people want, and has delivered exactly what they wanted.
But the next step is that the NEC would have to ratify this decision.
Yes.
And that's happening next week.
Next week. We are really having for that by next week.
So
that will happen.
When you say Napo, I remember him when he was ranking member on health.
Yeah.
At the time when NPP was in opposition. In fact, many thought he was going to be the health minister. And then Akufo-Addo sends him to Ministry of Education to implement the free senior high school. I don't know how way back you've known him for?
Since he came to Parliament in 2009.
Okay.
He stood on the ticket of the then Menchia constituency. But in 2012, when they decided to demarcate some of the constituencies, he moved them to the Menchia South constituency, where he's been member of Parliament since at that time. He was the first Minister of Education under Akufo-Addo when Akufo-Addo implemented the free SHS policy. I remember very well in September at the West African Senior High School in Adenta. That was when the free SHS policy was launched. And it was a huge thing. It has never happened in the history of Ghana before. And he was the man expected to spearhead the implementation of such a government flagship program. A lot of people said he did well. There are others who also criticized that there were some few challenges with the whole implementation and could have fixed those things before moving on to another ministry. But then others will also make a counter argument in respect of that. In Parliament, he's very vocal. As you mentioned, he was on the health committee. And a lot of people thought he was going to be the health minister on the first time, but Akufo-Addo thought otherwise. He's a practicing medical doctor. You know, he's a surgeon one way or the other. Yeah, he's a surgeon, not one way or the other. He's a surgeon fully. But then because of politics, maybe he's put that aside for now and doing full-time policy. He's a big wig, for want of a better word, in the Ashanti region. He commands a lot of respect in the Ashanti region. Mind you, the NPP has it at the back of your mind that this year's election, they may want to do well in the Ashanti region. So at least it can show up the party's votes. The NPP says that if all votes in the Ashanti region, especially NPP supporters, come out in their numbers to vote in the Ashanti region, there's a possibility that the party will be in a position to break the 8. It comes on the back of 2008. The party said if you have gotten all 8 members in the region to vote, in the second round, Akufo-Addo will have been president without going for a third round, which was 10. And so the party is whipping up support and sentiment within the region to ensure that every registered member of the party in the region, you know, comes out to vote in December. And they feel Dr. Matthew Poku Pempe is someone who can whip that support and sentiment to get it. He's a royal, he's from the royal family, he's well known within the Ashanti region. Everybody calls him by Napo, not, you know, the usual Dr. Matthew. And in a region like Ashanti, when people knew you by first name basis, it's a big deal for them. A typical example, like the original chairman, Wuntumi, his name is Bernard Enchibua, but people call him Wuntumi because of, you know, first. So it grows the popularity of the person in the region. And Dr. Bawumia and his people feel that for them to ride on the popularity of an individual in the region, their best bet may be going in for Dr. Matthew Poku Pempe, which he has done and will officially announce the National Council next week.
So that's Sami Yafi telling us how he knows Napo, and we've just told you basically what we know from behind the screens and maybe a few interactions here and there. But let's talk to someone who knows him quite well, has been working with him when this free SHS program was rolled out, like Sami explained there. He was in charge of communication or PR at the Ministry of Education. Now he's been elevated representing the people of Old Tafo, or is it Tafo Pankrono? What's the name of the constituency? Is it Old Tafo or Tafo Pankrono?
I think both of them go.
Yes. He's also a deputy minister of state, local government and
decentralization.
His name is Eko Vincent Esafwa. He's joined us on the line. Very, very fine boy. How are you, sir?
Hello.
How are you, Honorable Deputy Minister?
Sunday, I'm okay. How are you too?
I'm good. Okay. How is the ministry treating you? How is local government treating you? I'm sure you are busy running from district to district, checking to ensure that our decentralization agenda is on. How is it going?
Absolutely, not bad at all. But first and foremost, let me say a very good afternoon to you and to my brother, Samiri Afi, who is, until today, I never knew that he was the king of Konkonsa, who is able to know everything that transpired between the vice president and the president and giving a vivid narration of whatever they said and the advice that was given to each other and all that. But I must say that I'm settling in at the Ministry of Local Government. I'm fortunate to have a boss who gives opportunity for us, the deputies, to be able to work and also support President agenda here. And so there's no difficulty here in terms of my schedules as well.
Great. We'll take time to talk more about your ministry, but for now, let's talk about your former boss. I don't know if he's still your boss, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh. It appears all is set for him to be the running mate of the NPP. Tell us who Napo is and how long you've known him for.
Well, let me say that this morning around 6:30 a.m. when I woke up, I saw in the newspapers that almost all the headlines had carried that Napo has been named as the running mate, Napo gets the nod and what have you. Of course, the architecture of the New Patriotic Party in terms of such decisions are that the presidential candidate will have to submit a name to the NEC, and NEC will now forward it to National Council for determination, or if you like, an approval before the name can be announced and further outdooring of the name. In the absence of that, there's nothing official to that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
There's
been a constant.
So you're just giving us a background.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, so there's been a constant. The constant being that at every point in time when people are mentioning names of people who want to be or who may as well likely to be named as running mates, Napo's name has always been mentioned, largely because of his stature, largely because of the person that he is, largely because of the kind of personality that he carries. I have known him since the time that I started working with him very closely. Of course, I knew him before I started working with him, but our relationship started getting that closer when I started working with him from 2017 at the Ministry of Education. You remember at the time when the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, mentioned his name to be the Education Minister. There were a number of hullabaloo as to whether he was capable to handle the Education Ministry because of where he's coming from as a surgeon, as a medic, and for that matter, he would have been well fit at the Ministry of Health or even the Ministry of Employment. But the President had seen something that we had not seen at the time. And of course, his discharge, as far as his duties are concerned at the Education Ministry, clearly confirmed why His Excellency the President made him the Minister of Education at the time, something that most of us did not understand and most of us could not comprehend why the President would make that decision. You remember he's on record and he has a lot of things to his credit, to the extent that he's on record to have superintended over the Ministry of Education, where it was having a lot of strikes almost every year, sometimes about 2 or 3 times in a year, you have teachers going on strike. At the time that he's superintendent over the Ministry of Education, because of his excellent managerial skills, for the entire 4 years that he managed the ministry, there wasn't even a single strike at the Ministry of Education. I say this to diffuse any ideology or any sort of, if you like, belief that he has been an arrogant person or he is an arrogant person. I do not see how anybody who is an arrogant person can or would be able to work in such an environment and make sure that you're able to work with them. Yes, there's no difficulty in terms of how you are dealing with the teachers' unions. That is number one. Number two, one thing that he has to his credit is how he's been a result-oriented person. When I say someone who is a result-oriented person, he's someone who believes in we have to do something, we have to achieve, we have to make sure that by the time we leave this space, there should have been an impact that we've made. You remember when there was this argument about the fact that there's a certain disconnect between what is being taught in schools and what is being given to the world of work employers. That is when he decided that we should have a way that we can review our curriculum so that our people will now be creative in terms of creativity. Our people will now be having some amount of critical thinking whilst they are done with school. The grammar kind of school or the of education has not been helping. So that there was a review of our curriculum in 2017 or 2018 thereabout, where we reviewed our curriculum. Again, you remember that teacher medication was also reformed in terms of where for the first time we were able to make sure that the implementation of the licensing regime was introduced. It has been in our law book since 2008. The Education Act of 2008 mandated Ghanaian teachers to have a license so that they can rub shoulders with other teachers across the globe. This was not implemented, or this was not pushed through the system from 2008 until 2017-18 when he became the Minister of Education, where he made sure that there was some amount of reforms at the education level to the extent that the licensing regime was introduced. And today, a teacher, a professional teacher for that matter, who teaches in Ghana can also use the same license to be able to teach in the United Kingdom and other jurisdictions. Don't forget that the idea was for us to be able to rub shoulders with people like Finland, where you could use your PhD to be able to teach at the basic level. In fact, in Finland, teachers who are teaching at the basic level are people holding PhDs and what have you. And also somewhere, and starting from somewhere was to make sure that at least we review, or if you like, we reform the teacher education level. Once again, you remember there was an upgrade in the College of Education whereby a teacher will complete school teacher training and will be awarded a diploma certificate. He made sure that there was an upgrade of all the 46 colleges of education, where all these colleges of education were now degree awarding institutions, or have been degree awarding institutions. And since that time today, if you complete any of these colleges of education, you are awarded a degree. What that means is that we have started, if you like, rubbing shoulders with the outside world, other effective jurisdiction as far as quality of education is concerned. He has to discredit this kind of achievement. Do you remember also at this time when he mentioned that there's no need for us to be as it were, establishing new schools without necessarily beefing up the already existing school. So if I go to Opokua, if I go to Prempeh College, or you go to Citiuation Seminary, is it necessary that if you can expand infrastructure in these schools and make sure that if before that time, about people who have make sure that this time you can have about 3,000 or 4,000 people completing or if you like, graduating from Citiuation Seminary. And so there was some amount of expansion in our various senior high schools where infrastructure like administration blocks were built in places where after the needs assessment that he did, he commissioned the needs assessment to be done. And after the needs assessment, you could see that there were institutions who needed administration blocks. He had to make sure that administration block goes with that schools. Institutions that needed dormitory blocks for such expansions to be capable, because there were some institutions that you could have, or you could see that they are able to take more students in the classroom. But of course, there is no dormitories or there's no accommodation to be able to take care of these students. And he made sure that after the needs assessment assessed, some dormitories were being put there. A typical example is my own Osage Senior High School, which is Okes in Otafo constituency, where after the needs assessment, there were a number of blocks that were built in Okes, just to make sure that there's infrastructure expansion at that level. And so he has a lot of things to his credit. I am happy that he may be the one, or he is likely to.
Okay, Echo, can you hear me?
To be the one to be likely to.
Echo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me too?
So I want you to hold that thought there. He's been moved from education. His latest.
Let me give me just a minute. Let me finish this one.
Okay.
When you just oppose his credibility in terms of being an educational minister and that of Jane Opokua, who has also been an education minister before, One superintended over the cancellation of books and research allowances. One made sure that that was restored. One superintended over the cancellation of teacher training allowances. One made sure that that was restored. One superintended over a number of amounts of monies that were owed certain categories of people in terms of special schools, in terms of feeding grants and what have you. One made sure that all these monies were paid. And so that's the kind of ticket that Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh
And then one move
to
to the Ministry of Energy. That's your boss, your former boss, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. We'll talk about the Energy Ministry and the issues happening there, whether that would affect him or not. Plus, I'll ask you about his family life. And also this arrogant tag that you talked about, how did it come about? How is he curing that? But I'll crave your indulgence. Just stay on. We'll be back. We're taking a quick break. This is a Citiuation Room on ChannelOne television. My name is Umaru Sandamadu. I'm doing this with Sami Uyafe, and we have Honorable Eko Vincent Safwa on the line. He knows Matthew Opoku Prempeh so well, the man who we are told is a done deal for this particular choice as running mate for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We'll come back. We'll delve more into that and also have other interviews. Please stay.
You're still watching the Citiuation Room on ChannelOne TV. We're talking about the issue of the running mate. Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh looks like the chosen one who is going to partner Dr. Bawumia in the December election. Just a while ago, we were speaking to Vincent Kwasifwa. He's the Deputy Minister of Local Government and Decentralization, someone who has worked closely with Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, and they have a long-standing relation in respect of professional work and stuff. So we'll conclude the interview with him, and then we'll speak to some other institutions. The Dankwa Institute has come up with a research which also says that 77% of NPP foot soldiers, more or less like constituency, police station, and national officers, also believe that Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh should be the person who should partner Dr. Bawumia in the December election. Let's conclude our interview with Vincent, and then we'll speak to someone from the Dankwa Institute. Vincent, before we went on break, you are talking about the achievements within the educational sector. Now let's speak on issues within the energy sector. He's been in the news in recent time in respect of the recent challenges we are facing within the energy sector. And a lot of people say that he's not been able to manage the energy sector so well. How can he manage the affairs of the state? He's given the position as running mate and eventually becomes the vice president of the republic. How do you counter-argue some of these things that have come up?
Well, Sami, I think the big question is what constitutes the energy sector? If we're able to lay that foundation, I'm sure that the assertion that the energy ministry has not been managed well may not even be thought of, especially because I do so on the background that the mere fact that he engaged a journalist about doing so, which is no more in existence, and you could attest to me that for the past few weeks, there's nothing like Dumso anymore. And I think that he knew what he was talking about. There was no need for us to have a timetable, especially because we were of the firm belief that in the next few weeks, there will not be any Dumso. And indeed, there's no Dumso. And so on what basis can we say that he's been a failure at the energy ministry? I do not think that he's been a failure at the energy ministry. Rather, there were some challenges that came along the line as the manager of the energy sector. And those challenges were that we had to make sure that there's some few innovations here and there as far as some of our cables were concerned. And this is what he communicated to the Ghanaian people. It need not, or it did not warrant a timetable for that sake. And of course, time has been on his side. He has been vindicated because today, as we speak, there's nothing like it. So I used to have done so while I live in Spintex, and for the past 3 weeks or 1 month, I have not seen Dumso in my area.
All right, Vincent, before we go, just a quick one, and answer me in just 30 seconds. How will this selection of Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh whip up support and sentiment for the NPP in the Ashanti region?
Well, Clay, I think in your introductory remarks, you made mention of the fact that he is a stalwart in Ashanti politics. With the kind of things that he has to his credit, there's no doubt that he would add a lot to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. First and foremost, people believe that he's a royal. He comes from the Apejafie, which is also Otumfo's palace, because of his relationship with the giants in Ashanti region, how he has carried himself and how he's been a helper to most of the people in Ashanti region. Clearly, he brings a lot to the ticket. I think that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did his own research, and he has done a lot of engagement with party stalwarts. And I do not think that it would be a mistake for him to add him to his ticket. As I said, Matthew Opoku Prempeh brings a lot to the ticket. He has a lot of things to his credit. And I think that if the NPP would want to garner about 80% of the votes, which is clearly becoming the vision of the party, of course, he's going to play a critical role to make sure that we're able to garner such votes.
Vincent, thank you very much for your time. Vincent Kwasefua is Deputy Minister for Local Government and Decentralization. He's also a Member of Parliament for the Old Tafo constituency in the Ashanti region, and also someone who has worked closely with Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh over the year. He served as the head of public relations at the Education Ministry when Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh was the Minister of Education. We'll do another interview. Just yesterday, the Dankwa Institute, a think tank here in Ghana, also came out with a research few days after one was done by the NIB in respect of who should partner Dr. Bawumia in the lead up to the December election. The Dankwa Institute also came up with one which says that 77% of NPP polling station executive, constituency executives, regional executives, and national executives all endorse Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh to be Dr. Bawumia's running mate in the December election. Other names also came up, but then the front runner or the main guy or the main person in this is Dr. Matthew Opoku. Let's speak to Dr. Frank Bano. He's with the Dankwa Institute, and they carried out this particular survey as we put out in the media. Doc, thank you very much for your time and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much to your listeners. Very good afternoon to your listeners.
First of all, just run out through this particular research you did. What was the purpose of it? Why did you have to carry out one and the likes? Run us through it quickly.
Thank you very much. So, as Bradley said in your opening statement, I mean, the Dankwa Institute is not the only institute that has conducted a study as far as the flag bearer, the running mate of the New Patriotic Party is concerned, and it's become a topical issue since Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was elected as the NPP flag bearer on November 4, 2023, with that historic 61.43% victory that he had in that regard. And right after winning and getting elected, the next most important question on the mind of every Ghanaian, and most especially every NPP faithful, was that who do we elect to partner Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to make sure that the NPP breaks the 8? You know that has been the NPP's main mantra for this year's election, that they want to go beyond the 8 years rule term, which had become more or less a yardstick under the Fourth Republic. And for that matter, the most important question had been who to partner him for them to achieve this great feat. So in that regard, as you may be aware, you are the media guys, so many names have been in circulation within the media circles. And so based on these, we decided to say, okay, let's just pick the most vibrant ones, the names that resonate with people and the names that are reoccurring in the media space, and then just do a study. And this study, purposefully, we focused on the party executives of the NPP to know their opinion and their thinking and their rationale in terms of if the flag bearer was to elect a running mate. I mean, obviously, we know that that is the prerogative of the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, that he only has that opportunity to elect. But then, as a leader and also as party faithfuls, he ought to elect someone who appeals to the party in general, most especially whereby the issue of which region should that running mate come from has become a very topical issue also within the circles of the running mate. So all these issues culminated in the Dankwa Institute also carrying out an independent, anonymous study to find out exactly what the party faithfuls and stalwarts sentiments are. Who do they lean towards? If indeed those names that have been circulating in the media space are true, who would they actually root for that their flag bearer, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, select them? So basically, this was the premise for the Dankwa Institute to carry out this all-important study.
What was your sample size and the methodology used in this?
Thank you very much. So in terms of the sample size, so we looked at about 1,569 respondents. And like I already said, this methodology was purely purposeful because the target group was to look at NPP people. So obviously, you couldn't just do a random sampling of just selecting anyone at all, because the main focus or rationale of the study was to target constituency national executives, regional constituency and polling station executive to know their thinking and who they would prefer to. So in terms of the selection, it was purposeful by selecting NPP people, but then in terms of having the sample size and then speaking to respondents, that was done at random. And basically, we looked at speaking to about 10 to 20 polling station executives from about 91 constituencies across all 16 regions in Ghana.
And the conclusion is that?
Yeah, so obviously, if you look at the conclusion, I mean, the main conclusion is who candidates preferred. And then it was obvious that more than 80% of the respondents actually preferred a male running mate to a female running mate. So, I mean, obviously, you have seen in the media space that are some of the names that have been coming up. We also have a couple of some strong female candidates in there. I mean, that is based on the names that have been going around. But then the respondents proved that they would prefer a male running mate. Then with the male running mates, just as we said, so we sampled these names that has been running through the media space. So Honorable Dr. Matthew Poku Prempe, Dr. Yawadu Chunde, and then Dr. Henry Kwabena Kukufu, Honorable Lawyer Naatoshi Ado, and also Honorable Joseph Osei Owusu. And then about overall, I mean, if I want to give you the breakdown, but overall, 77% of the respondents actually said they would prefer Honorable Dr. Matthew Poku Prempe, who is also the current Minister for Energy. But then if you are looking at it from the constituency, national and polling station levels, so at the national level, we had about 84.7% of executives at the national level saying that they would prefer Honorable Matthew Poku Prempe. Then at the constituency level, we had 84.4%. Then at the polling station level, we had 69.3%. And then the overall, if you add all these things and then sum them, then we arrive at a 77%. So basically, that was the main finding. And then another interesting finding too was that who actually would, which region, because it's very, very important and it's something that has also become very, very topical. So also asked which region that respondents would want the running mate to come from. I mean, more than 80% of the respondents actually agreed to the fact that they would want to a running mate who comes from the Ashanti region, especially. We also did a bit of focus group discussion alongside, and then the main idea that came out was that in order to consolidate their base, because you know that for the NPP to win any general election, the Ashanti region is a region that they need to consolidate their votes, just like they did in 2020 for them to win the election. So that was one of the main factors that influenced a lot of executives or respondents to say that they would actually prefer a candidate coming from the Ashanti region.
Sir Frank Bano, I'll say a big thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Frank Bano is with the Dankwa Institute. They carried out a research that also says that 77% of NPP polling station executives, constituency executives, regional executives, and national executives all prefer Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempe as the running mate to Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia in the December election. Looks like overwhelming support. It comes on the back of a similar one by the NIB, which also says that over 80% of NPP executives, want Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempe to be the running mate. Another one from the Dankwa Institute, which also says, 77% We are told on Tuesday, the vice president, the presidential candidate, met President Akufo-Addo and officially announced to him that Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh will be his man in the lead up to the election. We'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll speak to a political analyst, find out from him if the selection of Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh will help the NPP in any way, especially getting more votes from the Ashanti region, which is the base of the NPP in the December election.
You're welcome back. This is the Situation Room on ChannelOne television. My name is Umaru Sandawad, and I'm here with Sami Wiafi. Earlier you heard Sami Wiafi speak to the Director of Research at Dankwa Institute. And of course, also you had an earlier interview we did with Eko Vincent Safwa. Now, the conversations are all geared towards one issue, which issue suggests that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the flag bearer of the NPP, has chosen Matthew Poku-Prempeh, a.k.a. Napo, as a running mate into election 2024. So we've been testing all the views across. Vincent having been his, you can even say personal assistant or PRO who worked with him to just give us background of who Matthew Poku-Prempeh is. Dankwa is still doing a research and which suggested that majority of NPP members who were polled wanted Napo to be their running mate. But what about the academic side of things, or rather the practical side of things? What does Napo bring to the ticket? What does Napo take away from the ticket? Professor Alidu Seidu is going to speak to us in a bit. He is with the University of Ghana. He is a political science lecturer at the political science department. We'll be talking about the Napo choice with him in a bit. But before then, Sami, is it possible that with all this that is happening, there may be Apo swerving? Because in 2008, you were at Alisa Hotel. There were people who wore white and went to Alisa Hotel, waiting to be named running mate. Some cooked jollof and left it in the house. If they mention my name, no, start a party. And then Akufo-Addo swerved everybody. Is it possible, where we have reached now, that Apo can swerve Napo?
It is not possible.
It is not possible.
It's happened before.
Yes.
It's happened before, but at this time, I am not so sure history may repeat itself. I'm not so sure. What happened in 2008 was a different scenario. Akufo-Addo's choice was Aji Aliu Mahama, who was then
Alima
Mahama, who was a local government before President Akufo-Addo appointed her as Ghana's ambassador, was a front runner. In fact, there were two of them, Hajia and Boniface Siddiq Abubakar. Mm-hmm. You know, these two people were the front runners.
Is that the same Boniface who's on the
butterfly
butterfly
wing? The same Boniface who's going to join the Afrafanto people. He was the second choice after Hajia. Now, Nana Akufo-Addo goes there. President Hajia was rejected. President Boniface was rejected. Now, he had no other choice. And so, Dr. Bawumia comes in as the replacement for all, because the kingmakers at that time thought that, you know, the way the economy was going, in an economist to one way or the other to come and help in respect of this particular situation.
So you don't think Apo will serve Napo?
I'm not so sure that Apo is going to serve, because I'm very confident that President Akufo-Addo officially endorsing the candidature or the running mates of Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh, there's a strong belief. And even Sandra, before you even go into these NEC meetings, you should do all your lobbyings before you go in there. So I'm not sure Dr. Poku-Prempeh is just sitting down and hoping that because the flag bearer has nominated him, he will just sit down, falla, and also wait for the announcement. He will also go in there, speak to this individual, or if he won't do that even himself, he will get any of his agents or assigns to be doing the background checks and be speaking to the people who matter in respect of this before going to that crucial meeting next week.
I'm just, you are the one who is very close. You've covered these things before, so you know how it works. And if you say that that is a position, that's how it's going to go. But we must also make the point that NEC would have to endorse this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let me go on the phone line. We are acting on the assumption that it is possible for Napo. Let's speak to Dr. Abdul Jalilu Atiku. He is a political science lecturer. He's joined us on the line. He's with the University of Ghana. Doc, you're welcome to the Situation Room on ChannelOne television.
Right, thank you very much for having me.
Politically, what should be the considerations in choosing a running mate? Do running mates matter If you were Jerry Rawlings, for instance, your running mate may not matter. But if you are Dr. Bawumia, must your running mate possess some qualities and features?
All right, thank you very much. Yes, the selection of running mates is very important because, constitutionally, we are supposed to have a vice president. And the constitution states that the vice president is also deemed elected, right? So there's no doubt that having a running mate for that one is necessary. Now, the considerations you talk about depends upon the party. There are several factors, right? But once we are talking about the NPP, I think that we need to look at that from that perspective. Now, the issue is that over the past, the last 30 years or so, when we, experimented with or started with this constitutional democracy of the fourth Republican regime, for the New Patriotic Party, they had only candidates from maybe from the Akan ethnic group, right? And ethnicity is also important in our voting situation. So for the first time, the party is now putting up a candidate coming from Northeast, that is the northern part of the country. Mm-hmm. And that is where the selection of the running mate is very important. And then the consideration for the NPP, I have said it several times, some months ago, that for the NPP, they have no option than to pick someone, not just an Akan, but someone from Ashanti region. This is because, in fact, Ashanti region is the stronghold, everyone knows that, of the NPP, right? And for the first time, once they are putting up a candidate from the northern part of the country, right, then it means that they have to do something, especially now that Alantramantin, who was with the NPP, also decided to form a movement of a political force or a party, right, the Movement for Change. And this is, a person who has served the NPP for a very long time. For the people in Ashanti region, they were looking for a person like Alantramantin to lead, the party. Unfortunately, when he was defeated, he decided to go solo and to form his own party. But the fact is that, there are people, looking at, you just talk about, your colleague just talked about Abu Bakr Siddiq, who is with, the Alantramantin and his Movement for Change. And there are several other people who are also with him, some of them supporting, from behind the scenes. And coming from, from Kumasi or Ashanti region, I think that that's why I said that for them, they have no option than to pick someone from Ashanti region. And therefore, if Matthew Opoku Prempe's name has been presented to the National Council of the New Patriotic Party, I think that for me it's not surprising. I think that it's a good thing that they have done, but that is just one leg of the whole issue. But I think that it's a good thing if that is what is happening. In my view, I think that looking at the other candidates, the potential candidates that we had, right, from Honorable Educhu, Honorable Freeman, the former MP, and then the Chief of Staff. We heard also about Owusu and others. So looking at Matthew Opoku Prempe, I think that it's not surprising that all those polls that they have conducted have pointed to one particular direction, because he's been, with the party for a very long time, appearing on several platforms, the media, defending the party for a very long time. So his name has been there, and he started also working towards it for a very long time. Some of the names that we are mentioning also emerged somewhere along the line. I think that he did the right thing, started early, tried to dine with almost every person. So if the polls have indicated that it is Matthew Opoku Prempe, I think that it shouldn't be surprising at all.
I see. Interesting. But the arrogant tag, and this was mentioned earlier on the program, Ghanaians want you to be humble, hands behind your back, that kind of thing. A lot of people also interpret, confidence to mean arrogance. Is that something that he will need to work on, considering his handling of Doomsor, for instance, and how he has communicated it? You are asked a question, where's the Doomsor timetable? He says, go and create your own Doomsor timetable. 2 weeks ago, he appeared before Parliament. He was asked to answer questions. He said, I'm here to answer questions from 2 or 3 months ago. Does he have to work on himself? Does the party need to work on himself, on this running mate, if he's really going to be the running mate? Or you think there's much ado about nothing when it comes to that?
I think it's very, very important, right? Personal qualities or personal characteristics or certain traits that you have. Based on this, there are some people who will not vote for you because they will tell you that this person, we are also coming from certain background, right? Ghanaian background, you are expected to maybe even how you speak and all that. Some of the words, the choice of words, right, and all those things also are very, very key because people will look at your posture, your demeanor when you are communicating and all that. So they will look at the other camp, right? If you look at the other side, from the other side, and people want to make comparison, like in terms of what you have just described, certainly people will look at the other camps. When I mean the other camp, I'm referring to the NDC, right? Like the professor, right? Very calm. She speaks. She's unassuming, and all that, right? So certainly, these are human beings. These are some. We all have the minuses and all that, and it is important that he addresses these issues, right? Because I think that I heard he got married, somewhere, just a few months ago. I think it's also part of just trying to build himself because if he had, without maybe, we are coming from African setting, looking at the age where you are, your position and all that. And they said maybe if you are not married and then you are coming to contest, people will raise issues. Maybe elsewhere it will not be an issue, but coming from certain, maybe African or Ghanaian setting, people will raise issues and it will be, a battle. So basically, working on his, some of those, lapses or some of the weaknesses will be very good, right? But as to whether the issues that normally, people have seen who you are. This is how you communicate and all that. And people are going to judge you by that. Because looking at it, just about under 6 months for us to go to the poll. And I said that period where he's going to change all those kinds of things, all right? So that is how the person is. And people are going to judge him by that. And obviously, there are some people who will not like him because of maybe how he communicates, right? There are some people who may not care about that. But I think that those things are very key. And politicians should just learn. You look at the environment, you look at the people that, you are leading. So if you have, you want to maybe present yourself for such positions and all that, you have to work on yourself a very long time, right? Because the Doomsor matter and then the timetable issue came just recently. And so basically, that is how the person is, right? There is nothing, it's just like, whether pregnancy, you said when you are not pregnant, at a certain point in time, it will show. So I think that it is good if recognizing that these are some of the weaknesses, and therefore looking at the person that you are going to lead, you are going to solicit, the votes of people, and the people want you to maybe behave in certain way. But we should also recognize that people have various, certain qualities and all that. This is so changing overnight may also become very difficult.
Quickly, Doc, it would be the first time a Muslim is representing a large political party into an election in a long time. Of course, remember Hilal Iman. Now, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, a Muslim from the north. The thinking is that get a Southerner and a Christian, like the way the Nigerians do it. There's been a mention of a man of God, a pastor who many thought could be the perfect choice. Do you think Napo can neutralize the religious issues that have been raised between Napo and a man of God? What would you say is a better choice for him? Would have been a better choice for Mahmoud Bawumia?
Well, I think it's important, right? Religion is key, but it depends, because if you look at the persons who, the name that came out from that, I think I heard about is it the former president of the Pentecost Church or something like that, right? So this is one person who is very known in terms of, from coming from that religious background and all that, right? But the issue also has to do with politics, right? You may have people like that. People, they will come in because this is a different terrain, right? So if the person is not a politician, sometimes it will take a very long time for the person to master the game. Politics is a different ball game altogether. Certainly, there are people who will be voting along that line. But one key thing that we should also recognize is that I do not know about Matthew Opoku Prempeh's religious or his faith, but if I start to be corrected, I may think that he will be a Christian. So if that is the case, I think that it doesn't necessarily mean that you should have someone from
a pulpit,
from that higher position in religion. Once he's a Christian and he's a politician. So for me, in my view, maybe I'll be Machiavellian in this to say that let the religious leaders adhere to their religious code and allow the politicians also to do their bit. But that doesn't mean that we do not, need everyone, whether from the religion at the top. But I think at this particular moment in time, I think that they have made the NPP or the flag bearer has made the right choice, especially looking at Matthew Opoku Prempeh. He's contested elections, I think from 2008 till this particular period of time. If you look at Mahmoud Bamia, even their intra-party elections, for example, I think they had just about 61%. Right?
Thank you.
So it's very important that they get someone with that wealth of experience in politics.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doc. And my attention has just been drawn. Hila Liman was not a Muslim, so just by way of clarification, Martin. Thank you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. That's Dr. Abdul Jalilu Atiku. He's a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, helping us with the analysis there of the choice of running mate, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia settling on Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. You remember 2016, the NDC song was John and Jane. This one is going to be Doc and Doc. I look forward to the songs that will be coming.
Same here.
Let's end it here. We'll be back next week with the Situation Room on Channel One Television. Thank you for watching us.
Thank you.